The U.S. is in trouble when it comes to taxes, deficits, growing debt problem, a GDP of 2%, and an inflation target of 3%. Well, the only way the government can get out of where we're going is to raise taxes.
Why is AI something that One Oak Financial is going to be really leveraging in their conversations?
Well, AI is here and it's not going anywhere. The reason we use AI in our business is we use it from a standpoint of being able to think about things or research things that we've never thought about before. That's why AI is a big part of our practice, is because things are evolving, just like the iPhone changed communication, navigation, entertainment. But I'm just telling you, if you want to virtually scale your business, if you want to enterprise your outfit, AI is going to help you do that.
You rebranded from Ideas by Mike to One Oak Financial. Simple question. Why did you do that?
Ideas by Mike was not something that was scalable. The one-of-a-kind financial plan was built because of my past in this industry, where I had worked for one-size-fits-all companies, where I saw client stories lost in systems, where profit was more important than the people that were so-called being served. Our firm wanted to make everything we do about the client.
Where do you go as a business owner to find the right people?
My philosophy was, if I'm going to be virtual, I can find the best talent to do the job. So like the head of my client management is in the central time zone, is in Dallas.
What are 3 things an advisor would need in order to convert more prospects to clients in 2026?
First thing I'd say you need to do is
Systems work, people fail. Welcome to InsureMark's Advisor Mentorship Podcast with Vice President Jeremy Hauser.
Welcome back to this week's episode of the Advisor Mentorship Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Hauser, and as 2026 is well on its way, we had an incredible last guest. Hopefully you got a chance to check out that conversation, an exclusive one with our professor from Duke, none other than Cam Harvey. And today I'm very excited, especially as advisors all across the country who check out our episode are always looking for best practices to hear from successful entrepreneurs. And today we're bringing a guest back on because there's been some evolutions in his business. And I think it's a very timely conversation to have. Mike Milligan of One Oak Financial. Hello, Mike. How you doing?
Good, Jeremy. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
By the way, I think this is my 3rd time on the podcast. I may be your all-time most podcast guest that you've had on this. I don't even know what that's called, but
you know, there's one guy that actually has that title right now. So you are tied with him. It's a gentleman. His name's Steve Kearns. So he has the trifecta so far, but hey, you are now in elite status with Steve.
Rarefied company. And that is somebody's name I would love to be associated with because I love that man.
As do we all. So welcome back. And I know I'm going to dive into a lot of things that are going on in your particular business. We're going to talk a little bit more about the CEO aspect of how your business has evolved over the coming years. But before we even dive into a lot of questions, that recent episode with Cam Harvey. So I hear you got a chance to check out at least a portion of it. What'd you think?
His perception from an advisor standpoint, his take on how they have constructed the fixed index annuity to be an alternative to bonds is just absolutely fascinating. His white papers and his academic research should now become staples, and they're pretty much on par with like the Ibbotson paper from back in 2017 as the bond alternative option. I will tell you, like, a couple other highlights that I really enjoyed from his podcast with you was his take on where their index is going in the equity exposure of not paying expensive, not having expensive low growth stocks inside of a portfolio. It's absolutely fascinating. And then his conversation that was early on in the podcast about how the U.S. is in trouble, economically when it comes to taxes, and deficits and our growing debt problem. And his analysis on how we can get out of that situation is a fresh perspective. Because often we as advisors want to say, well, the only way the government can get out of where we're going is to raise taxes. And that's the logical common sense answer. And yet his approach of that, the most fundamental way to get out of our growing deficit and our tax problem is through growth, is actually a refreshing, optimistic view of how America can continue to lead economically around the world. And it's something that, I mean, advisors should listen to it, but my gosh, I wish politicians would listen to it. I wish the people that are making decisions economic would listen to it. And I wish they would stop managing to a GDP of 2% and an inflation target of, 3% and start actually trying to allow growth to solve the deficit and budget problems we have, like he spoke about on your podcast.
I left the conversation. I mean, for one, I mean, open book. Couldn't believe how much he was sharing, especially in detail. He's a great speaker, for one, but two, I know some of the topics that he was chatting about, of the optimistic side of just here in America, if we take advantage of it. He talked about the main three things. One of those of opportunity is not just the markets of crypto and other opportunities with just alternatives, but he talked a lot about AI. And I know that's something you actually resonated with. You shared that on our mastermind call earlier this month with the other advisors. And one of the things that you actually said during that call with the other advisors was something that, like, I didn't even think of that as one of the lessons learned for 2025. And I know that that was something that Cam really, really just highlighted during our episode, and how it's just hitting the peak of the iceberg. But most importantly, when you talk about all the different sectors and you talk about how fast technology is taken off, your message was unique, of how you were saying how you're going to leverage that conversation in your particular conversation with clients. Why is AI, you think, a big opportunity, lesson learned that you think educating the public about is something that One Oak Financial is going to be really leveraging in their conversations?
Well, AI is here and it's not going anywhere. See, in the podcast, Cam talked a lot about how the difference between like the technology bubble and the AI bubble, and how they're not correlated to each other. They're not real. I mean, it's not, they're not the same thing, because he said, one of the main differences in this time period, in these two time periods, is people that are building AI based companies are building the infrastructure for AI. Remember the dot-com burst, whereas people that were alive during the dot-com burst and building those companies did not remember the Great Depression. They didn't live through it. And so he's spot on in his analysis. But as advisors, the one thing, one of my big takeaways from 2025 is how AI can actually solve problems. There's a lot of new research coming out about how people have come to rely on AI as more than just a Google search. Because AI can do a lot of the things that Google can do as far as like the encyclopedia. But when you know how to prompt AI, when you know how to ask questions, when you know how to get opinion from certain people, it can do the research quickly. I mean, in a snap, in the hindsight. But like for advisors who are not using it, AI can automate so many processes within your system. It can help build a better client management system. It can help in determining strategies in my world that are one of a kind, and things that I haven't even thought about before. Now, the reason we use AI in our business is we use it from a standpoint of being able to think about things or research things that we've never thought about before. And we don't have time to go spend 5 weeks doing or 4 weeks doing. We can get them done in a couple hour session of deep AI research. that will solve problems for retirees faster and more nimble than those who are stuck in the same old 60-40 mold, the same old broker-dealer, registered investment advisory mold, where we are going to do the same thing that worked 20 or 25 years ago. Jeremy, I just did for the One of a Kind Financial Show, which is my radio show, I just did a segment on the iPhone. Do you remember that? The iPhone was launched January 9th of 2007. Do you realize that?
I did not.
That's 19 years ago. And think about what the iPhone did for us. It actually helped us evolve how we not only communicated with people, how we interacted with people in social media, how we navigate life, because the mapping system was a whole lot better. It's a whole lot better on the iPhone than it was on the BlackBerry or the Nokia or MapQuest.
Mm-hmm.
It gave us new tools to be entertained. It gave an outlet for startups like Netflix, right, and Disney Plus, right, for old companies like Disney to evolve with new revenue streams like Disney Plus. It gave the traditional media outlets like CBS and ABC and NBC new ways to interact with people. It just caused a dramatic change 19 years ago. And for people who are not going to use AI, can you imagine if you're a retiree and you're sitting here, you're getting ready to be 65 years old with a life expectancy of another 25 or 30 years, and using the same tools then that were available today, right? I mean, could you imagine retiring with the same portfolio tools that you had when you started work 25, 30 years ago? That's why AI is a big part of our practice, is because things are evolving. Just like the iPhone changed communication, navigation, entertainment, how we travel, how we socially connect with people, AI is changing that in the investment world. And the folks who are not interacting on a firm level with AI fast enough, they're going, I don't want to say they're going to be left behind, because there's still always a niche market out there for direct human connection, neighbor to neighbor.
Absolutely.
Right? There's that. But I'm just telling you, if you want to virtually scale your business, if you want to enterprise or outfit, AI is going to help you do that faster than any other modern technique that we've seen probably over the last 25 years.
If you're a financial advisor who specializes in annuities or index universal life, and you're tired of prospects showing up skeptical or preconditioned by what they've heard on the radio, this is for you. Mike Saunders, known as the Authority Positioning Coach, helps independent financial advisors solve a critical problem. Their credibility isn't visible before the first conversation. Through his Done For You Authority Positioning portfolio, advisors are positioned as trusted educators, not product sellers, using podcasts and TV interviews, media features, and expert positioning. This is what will happen for you. Prospects Google your name, see real authority signals, and arrive pre-sold on you. What this means for you is less resistance, more confidence, and annuity and IUL conversations that feel easier and more natural. Learn more at www.authoritypositioningcoach.com/InsureMark. Well said. And speaking of enterprise and scaling, so yes, you are a three-peat. And I think we had a conversation I know the episode, I think it was episode 64. So that would have put us roughly around sometime early last year, I believe, or maybe it was 2 years ago.
Right after you had Dr. Siegel on.
Oh, that's right. Mr. Yeah.
That's
there
right.
You
I think I followed economists this second time in a row I've done that.
Maybe you're the economist, I don't know.
You said it, I didn't.
Speaking of scaling and enterprise, so you did a brand shift last year. So you changed your brand, rebranded, I would say a better term. You rebranded from Ideas by Mike to One Oak Financial. Simple question. Why did you do that?
Ideas by Mike was me. I still have a podcast called Ideas by Mike, and we have guests on there. We put that out a couple times a month. Mm-hmm. And that podcast is about me interacting and having conversations with individuals. But Ideas by Mike was not something that was scalable from any stretch of the imagination. It was not it's cute, it's attractive, right? The federal retiree, the small business owner in, Wichita who didn't mind doing something virtually, the person with some money set in the CD, they didn't mind that, but it didn't build credibility or trust from the outset of a relationship. But within within Ideas by Mike, we always had a saying, or we build a saying, not only from like what I did. I wrote a book called The One of a Kind Financial Plan that's available on Amazon. It's actually sold very well. I've got, 20 plus reviews on there. I got one review that has pulled my rating down to where I'm not a 5-star. I'm almost a 5-star. So go find that rating on Amazon.
Yeah.
But like the one of a kind financial plan is what we did with Ideas by Mike. We built the one of a kind financial plan for your one of a kind life. And so when we started thinking about like what is something we could be based off what we already do, expand beyond our 20 employees to 40, 60, 80, be a $1 billion company, what would that name look like? And when we started that exercise internally, it was very clear that we are one of a kind. We believe that the individual clients we work with are one of a kind. And it's this comparison besides the one size fits all world of financial planning to the one of a kind side. One size fits all, the clients who deal with them, they get the same thing. They either get the same annuity, they get the same 60-40 portfolio, they get the same tax strategy on repeat. It's like the same record spinning over and over again, whether or not you're the 9, 11, or 1 o'clock appointment every day. The one of a kind financial plan was built because of my past in this industry, right? Where I had worked for one size fits all companies, where I saw client stories lost in systems. I saw people turn into account numbers, and I saw where profit was more important than the people that were so-called being served. And so our firm wanted to make everything we do about the client. Everything is about you, the individual, where we ask just a few simple questions like why is money important to you? What do you want the rest of your life to look like? And we just keep asking why, over and over again. And then we get to the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And when we know the why, we can put a purpose behind what we do. And then when we put a purpose behind somebody's financial plan, it makes the numbers sing. It brings a harmony. What it also does is it relieves fear, stress, anxiety of running out of money. It takes the uncertainty about what you do during a market downturn out of the picture. It makes it so that at the end of your life, you can age with dignity, right? Because you have a long-term care plan that was written a long time ago. And ultimately, it's a legacy plan that says, I love you for the next generation.
Start the year off strong with Prosperity Life. Now and throughout Q1, all Path Pro Series applications receive an extra 50 basis points in compensation. That's 7.5% on the 10-year with up to 1.75% in enhanced commissions. That gets you to 9.25% all in. A-excellent rated with Path Pro Max, offering a 16% premium bonus and no fees. Power up with Prosperity Life and visit www.prosperitylifearc.com. That's prosperitylifearc.com. It's been incredible. Actually, being a part of the journey has been awesome because you find that getting to know your team of just people. So if we go way back to the first time that we recorded, roughly, I think probably 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. At that time, it was you and Caitlin and Kelsey. So it's just 2 additional people with you. So you fast forward today and you are absolutely now a business owner because you got 20 different people. So your opinion and your decisions have to come fast, but also you got a lot of people depending on you. So what's that like? So what's the, talk a little bit about being more of the business owner as opposed to just the advisor today as we talk here in 2026.
The interesting thing is I'm still evolving in that role. I'm not perfect from that role at all. I'm not the perfect leader when it comes. I'm still molding. I am a dynamic individual in and of myself. We build dynamic financial plans. I have to ever change. But one of the things is it does take uh, a little bit of craziness and chaos to do what we've done. You have to be a risk taker because it would have been very simple for us, Jeremy, to stay a $12 million a year annuity shop, 15 to $20 million of new assets under management a year with 3, 4 people, maybe even 5. And we could have had a very, very nice life. But what we wouldn't have had is people like Joseph and Marcus and January and Eric and Scotty and Quayshawn and Tiffany. We wouldn't have had Natalia and Casey. We wouldn't have had the chance to build new breath and new ideas into an industry that is lacking those new perspectives and new thoughts. See, Gen Z and millennials are going to require a different type of advisory firm than baby boomers require. And so we took great risk. But one of the things that you have to do is I was having this conversation with one of our internal advisors just today because he said he wants to set his goals really high, almost like the ceiling. And if he gets close to that, he will have blown away even his wildest expectations for this year. But as a business owner, you can't do that. You have to be realistic. You have to create a vision for the company, but you have to create a serious budget that says no to certain opportunities that may come up. You have to create a budget that says what pay raises are going to be like in the future and how you build a 401k plan to attract top talent, what an unlimited sick leave policy looks like, what a technology policy looks like, how you actually nurture your employees so that you show them there is the possibility for growth in this industry in your company. This is not a pit stop for you in your career. This is a place where you can work and grow over the next 10, 15, 20 years. And it has come with speed bumps. We have had people that have come and that have gone that our company has outgrown, or maybe they weren't the right fit for the role. And so we had to make decisions, the right decisions for the company along the way. It's not easy. And I'm not going to tell folks that are looking to take this journey that it is, but I can tell people that who want to take this journey that there are those of us who have been down the path that we can collaborate and mastermind with. So you'll learn along your path what does and doesn't make sense for you and your family.
So finding the right people, because you really think about the last 24, 36 months of 10Xing just staff members alone. So what are some of the things, lessons learned around finding the right people? Is it more of just things that you don't necessarily, you feel it's things you don't want to be focusing your time on and delegating? Is it just looking outside the industry just to build out the things that Mike's not good at? So where do you go in your head as a business owner to find the right people? Because that's obviously why y'all's growth has been there. It's getting the right people in the right part of the bus.
There is nobody in our company, One Oak Financial, who I have not previously done their job. And I want them to be able to do my job one day too, by the way. Whether that's the job of CEO, the job as financial planner, financial advisor, whatever role that I have previously taken from my shoulders and hired full-time people to do, I want them to be able to do it. The issue with finding people is, like, if I was advising somebody looking to grow in 2026 and hiring staff, one thing I would do is I would simply say, look where you get the most joy out of your job. And you keep doing that. And then list all the other things that do not bring you joy, that they get put off to the end of the day or they get put off till next week. And then write out a description of what that looks like, what that person would do on a daily basis, their 6, 8, 10 tasks. And then speak to somebody who's hired that type of person before. See, when I first hired Caitlin, I was looking for an operations guru, could process business, build payroll systems, deal with the technology side, but also handle inbound leads, help me with marketing. I was looking for like a Swiss Army knife person.
That was literally the word I was saying. I
Yeah.
was thinking, man.
And the reality is like I say that we've hired, like I've done everybody's job in this company. Caitlin has done everybody's job in this company except for mine. And really, everybody you hire, you're really taking a full-time employee where they have maxed out their capacity and they have no more time to give. And now you've given them more room, you've given them margin in their day by taking part of what they do. That's why we hired Kelsey, because Caitlin, quite honestly, did not like social media. She did not like handling inbound leads. She did not like doing the lead generation part of our business. And so when I hired Caitlin, I hired operations, and then I had Kelsey with inbound leads. And that's just a recap of our first episode, by the way. But then we grew from there. And so then you have to open up and you have to define, like, we are a virtual company, right? I live over half the year in Puerto Rico. We have a corporate office that we own the building in Norfolk, Virginia, where some of the staff has. But we also have employees that are in Hawaii, a couple in Texas. We have Nashville, Tennessee, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Columbus, Ohio, Elliott, Maine, Smithfield, Virginia, which is, don't let that be confused with Norfolk. That's a long way away. We have in North Carolina. So we have people spread out around the country doing this virtual world. And so my philosophy was, if I'm going to be virtual, I can find talent to do the job, right? The best talent to do the job. So like the head of my client management is in the central time zone, is in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Gives her freedom to take that 10 a.m. call on the East Coast and also do that 7 p.m. call, in on the Pacific time zone too, right? Because there's some flexibility of her time. But we have people stretched out across the country. We did get together last year at our brand launch event here in Norfolk, where everybody together. It was a great time having everybody together for a day and a half. We will do that consistently year after year now, where our team from across the country gets together in a spot. They're begging that it be in Puerto Rico this year, Jeremy. We'll see if that actually happens or not.
Ibexus is committed to delivering smart solutions that help you win more business. Starting January 1st, 2026, the Ibexus Wealth Defender Bonus and Wealth Defender Bonus Plus will deliver even more value with a 1% increase in premium bonuses for issue ages 71 to 75. This enhancement further strengthens Wealth Defender's position as a powerful accumulation-focused FIA, offering 3 product variations, guaranteed par rates, or premium bonuses and bonus options, with or without a charge, including up to a 22.5% premium bonus on a 10-year contract. Add in an additional activities of daily living feature based on full contract value, all from an A- rated carrier on a 100% digital platform, and you have a compelling solution for today's clients. For more information, feel free to go to www.insuremarkamp.com/jhauser and click on Learn More. Well, that'll be fun. And that was a blast. So that was a good time to actually see the customers out in Norfolk. I think so. One of the things that stands out last year specifically, so with the rebranding, then came, I know, a pretty big decision as a CEO, business owner, is getting processes not just written down, but also more so of just keeping up with the management. So tracking, having things to where there's a process in place. So if things are not operating to the standard of the firm, it's easier to figure out, where was the leak, or figuring out just the quicker you can get to the problem to make sure the problems don't multiply. So last year, I think y'all really embraced a new CRM system and a couple other things. So what were some of the is there any reason that really stood out to you of why your firm really needed to lean into that as opposed to just trying to wing it?
Well, if we're going to be a $1 billion organization
Mhm.
as a managing assets for clients, we can't do things that a $20 million organization, we can't do it the same way that a $20 million organization did. And so we looked at like the strengths of the people on our team, and like the senior leaders in our company, Tiffany, Caitlin, and Liz and Katie, come from very dynamic past experience with companies, helping C-suite executives, working in the federal court system, working in mortgage concierge, working in detailed client management outcomes. And so we had to look for a system that met who we were. We did not want to be, we just didn't want to take an off the shelf financial system, a financial software, and plug it in and say, we're going to accept that, yet we're one of a kind. We wanted to build something that was our own. And so we went out and found a company developing a CRM, a large project management company who was developing a CRM, who said, we will partner with you guys to build it out for you because this is a space we want to be in. And we literally custom build a CRM using Monday in their tools with their support and their backbone. Where Tiffany, who's a Monday expert, Caitlin has become one, Liz, who is a guru in Monday. They've built it out to automate, the workflow for our 21-step client management journey and our 9-step customer client journey, to where we literally could see where a client is at any point. It's automated client review meetings. It's automated our surge sessions when we do Roth conversion surge in October. We do a tax planning surge in February. We do a legacy surge every July. And so it's automated a lot of that for us internally, so we could spend more time not wondering when are we going to speak to our client next, knowing when we're going to do it, but also being able to be more reactive, right? So more reactive to when clients reach out to us, and proactive on the sales team, showing people that we can treat you like a client now, even before you are a client.
That's a competitive edge, to say the least, especially if you operate virtually. So building trust, credibility is one of the key metrics, and something also that, I mean, it was conversations with you during doing the business planning calls for 2026, the other advisors within AMP. So that gave us an idea, thanks to working guys like you, to where we're rolling out something called AMP Junior. And that's going to be more along the lines of providing resources for someone like a Mike, where you've rattled off, I think, 5 or 6. How many sub advisors are within? 5. So 5 advisors. So with there's only 24 hours in a day, and for Mike having to make a lot of decisions, that's where there's some opportunity to leverage some of our resources just to do some blocking and tackling. So the birth of AMP Junior, doing those calls on a monthly basis, are going to be something that we're going to start doing for our advisors within AMP, for their junior advisors. And I know that's something based off what you just talked about, your 21-step process, your 9-step process. I didn't realize that until our business planning call, that you have a program you've already been doing and actually coaching advisors. So what are some of the things that, I mean, I was actually kind of taken back that you have a whole other world outside of already the successful one you're doing here. So you actually develop processes for advisors to plug into and learn what your One Oak financial process is.
We were at Founders Club,
Mhm.
and you guys brought in a business coach that had worked with Michael Kitkus before, and that business coach was given the same system, right? These overall systems that you could then take and apply in your business. And I remember sitting back thinking, there, I was like, wow, this is not even an advisor giving this. This is somebody who's worked with an advisor and then replicated that advisor system and then is out teaching other advisors how to do it and has got a 7 or I think this person even has an 8-figure business. And I'm sitting there thinking, that's crazy, right? That this group of advisors is eating out of this person's hand so much knowledge, and yet she doesn't even do what we do in our business. And so I started thinking about, so how can I do this? And so we did one of these with an advisor. We started like an internal social media group where we worked with a couple of advisors at Insuremark, where we built out like how to lead that team, right, into like thinking bigger than they currently were. And while that was going on, I started doing sales coaching for hundreds of advisors per month around the country at different organizations, where I would go on to a power hour, I would go into a sales coaching call. And then I got to the point where I'm thinking, One Oak Financial has this goal of wanting to be in all 50 states around the country. That's our ultimate goal. And I said, well, why not just create the One Oak Collective? The One Oak Collective is a group of advisors, like-minded advisors, who are either solopreneurs or looking to grow, who could use the time-tested failures and successes of One Oak Financial.
Mm.
And so we have, I have a training vault of videos. It's the 21-step process to go from client to superfan. By the way, superfan was from Founders Club, right? We've done the 9-step to go from lead to prospective client, but you earn revenue on them. That's thinking like a MIGA transaction or term life insurance, but they're not a full-on client yet, but you've revenued that person out. So we got a 9-step process of how we drive those through. We have in that community, I have a closed session podcast called the One Oak Collective Podcast. The only way you can get access to those conversations is by being a member. And those are literally conversations that I have with industry people that most people don't ever get access to, right? You don't get access to, like the inside the boardroom conversations, but I give my members that. I give the members of the One Oak Collective those inside conversations. Like, I was speaking with a coach that only her minimum coaching, like her fee to work with her is $250,000 per year. How many advisors can really afford a $250,000 coach? She takes on 8 coaching clients a year, but she had a 17-minute conversation with me about what somebody trying to grow their business would be like. Or Molly from Track That Advisor to give an update on like what's really working in the marketing. Her and my conversation was recorded. It's in the collective. I had a conversation with the VP of business development of a fee-only investment advisory firm, where he actually gave the inner workings of like some key definitions of why fee-only advising is going to be the wave over the next 25 years, right? It's almost like a futurist conversation. But like our folks, but the final thing that people of the One Oak Collective get is they get access to the 12-week work year, a methodology that I use for growth.
Yep.
And we don't, and Jeremy, you and I, we do annual planning, and it's painstaking. I'm probably the worst advisor you have to do annual planning with, because I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do in the next 12 weeks, right? And it does ebb and flow based off what my 3 core priorities for a quarter are. Like, I mean, I may go out and blow out annuity production and do $25 million of annuities this quarter, right? Or I may go out and do $80 million of assets under management. But if my next quarter, my priority is to build out like the next book or to do the next social media thing, our production may go down a little bit because of that. Because I think of things in 12-week periods. I don't think of them in annual periods. And I give people, as part of the One Oak Collective, an inside view of what the One Oak Collective is and what the 12-week work year is. It's, by the way, it's also the only place out there where people can see my weekly financials, because members of that community get to see like how much business we are putting in on an annual basis in AUM, annuities, life, and how much we talk to. Because I just want to show people Like, what does it take to build an 8-figure revenue company?
Welcome to the revolution, where annuities move at the speed of opportunity. At Revel One Financial, they have unleashed the cheetah spirit with the direct growth MIGA, and it's now available in the state of California. Give your clients guaranteed growth and stability with one of the most competitive fixed rates in the market. 5.85% guaranteed fixed interest rate on the base 5-year direct growth MIGA, and 5.75% guaranteed fixed interest rate on the base product in California, which includes a death benefit. Plus, enhanced flexibility with an optional free partial surrender rider, giving clients access to a portion of funds when needed. Rider election will reduce the guaranteed fixed rate. Rates are subject to change at any time. Ready to grow faster with nimble, forward-thinking partners? Visit revel1financial.com or call 1-800-579-9875 to learn more. Revel One Financial, built to help unleash your cheetah spirit. A lot to digest with it. And that's where, and I find that over the years, advisors just want to be led for the most part. They just want to, and I mean, it goes from Ron to whomever we have on stage at our Founders Club, family reunions, you obviously, and all of you have had a mentor or somebody that you just needed some guidance on, what path is out there, and then let the ideas roll from there. Just give a roadmap to somebody. And that's where I think, based off of some of the advisors you've worked with and some of the ones that it sounds like that are enrolled in that type of just hands-on coaching from your team, it at least gives them structure in a I would say a business that has no structure at all, especially as a business owner. You at least provide an advisor with a roadmap to provide some type of stability in an unstable type of environment. Is that fair to say?
It's very fair to say, because we were just on one of our monthly mastermind calls, or actually I wasn't on the call. I watched the recording afterwards. And one of our advisors that we love, like we just love him dearly, right? But he expressed so much frustration about lead generation companies. Like he just, I mean, it was, I don't want to say it was a curse word loaded session, but there were a few that came out just because it's frustrating, right? It's frustrating to be sold the dream and delivered the nightmare. And the only person who's really profited there has been the lead generation company. And so like there's a lot of, and then on the monthly mastermind that we just did recently, there was another person who said, you have to monitor your KPIs in order to make sure you get a return on investment. I'm a geek about stuff like that. When I heard that, I was like, but my thing is I wanted to jump up and say, but how do you know if you got the right KPIs? Right? Like how can you measure KPIs when you're trying something new for the first time? And a lot of times we want to pass off the things that we don't enjoy in the business to somebody else. We want to contract out, our uncomfortable times. And the thing about running a business, whether you're a solopreneur, you've got one or two staff members, one of the things that's really hard about running a business is you have to do the most uncomfortable stuff to see if it really works. And you really can't grow unless you do the uncomfortable. And I would tell anybody out there, if you don't know what that is, if you want to, if you want to be part of the One Collective and you're listening to this, that means you like Jeremy a little bit too. So yeah, I'd tell you how to become part of that. But part of things is part of being a part of the One Collective is you get like a weekly sales call with me there too, where I get to talk in terms like this. But I talk much deeper than that about like confronting the hard that's in front of us. What's amazing about the future, Jeremy?
A lot of things. But what?
One of the things that I love about it is absolutely spotless. It's spotless, meaning that the spotlessness future that we have is ours to determine. Mm-hmm. It's that spotless future that's out there. Like if you want to be a $200 million annuity producer, you can do that. If you want to be a $500 million asset under management shop, you could do that. If you want to make $150,000 a year and only work 5 hours a week, you can do that. If you want to play golf 6 days a week and write one annuity, you can do it. There's systems for all of these that are out there. The problem that holds us back from going there is we don't think of the future as spotless. We think of the past as our future. And that's why you need to be in a community where there's optimism and reality face to face, where you have a live community that you can answer questions to, where a couple of other 100 advisors can see the question and answer what works, and have it moderated by somebody who did 9 figures last year. And our goal is to be more than a 9-figure outfit, is to be a 10-figure outfit. The only way I can get there, according to Zig Ziglar, the only way I can get there is help enough people get what they want out of life so you can get what you want. So my thing is, I'm going to help as many people along the way who want to be entrepreneurial in their pursuit of their business, avoid some of the pitfalls that I've made along the way, and hear the conversations that I hear. Because like when you hear Kim speak or Scott speak or Jeff speak inside the One Oak Collective conversation I have, you're going to hear something different, these little nuggets that you can take and apply to your business. And it's just like, Jeremy, it's just like I say this all the time when I'm around InsureMark people. I want to be the number one producer at Simplicity InsureMark. It's always been there. But if one person or two people or 3 people are above me, I'm so happy about that, because that means they had a hell of a year, right? A hell of a 6. That means they did numbers that they never would have done before. And so as part of that, I am so excited, about having the One Oak Collective, but I'm also excited about like where we go from here as One Oak Financial.
Are you an advisor that happens to be a business owner? Advisors come to a point where they work in their business instead of on their business. And as entrepreneurial advisors are looking for systems and resources to plug into, it can be hard to take on this task alone and can also be very, very expensive. How can you get institutional resources and still remain independent? Check out our one-pager, which is titled AMP Path to Prosperity. This is a quick one-pager that gives you really a checklist over a couple of items that are helping independent entrepreneurial advisors really build, scale, and capitalize on their business. Make sure to go to www.insuremarkamp.com/jhauser. Click on Learn More and request your copy of the AMP Path to Prosperity for this checklist today. Now, we're excited about the journey, and I think something you said, and I hope the listeners really, and they relate to it as entrepreneurs, is learning from failure. So your failures in your career have led you to documents, which is the hardest part, is actually putting it down on paper and sharing with people a roadmap to learn from your mistakes and at least save them hopefully some money along the way, because obviously a lot of failures as an entrepreneur cost some money. So that's hopefully something that the listener really listened to just there, about having access to a successful entrepreneur, but a business where they can plug into and pick what they like and just grow as they want to grow. I love that you avoided the word comfortable earlier today. You said something about your team could be some word, but you didn't say comfortable. So that's always something that I know you don't want to be comfortable. I think one last question I had, because I know we're definitely a little over on time today. What's 3 must-haves for advisors as they look in order to become a better business owner? Not just better business owner, but let's just say, what are 3 things an advisor would need in order to convert more prospects to clients in 2026?
Well, the first thing I'd say you need to do is listen.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't, that listen part is more about listen to the prospects you have in front of you. Do more listening than talking. And I know we say that a lot, but Vince Lombardi used to always start the the Green Bay Packers season was with this is a football, right? So when I say listen, just go back to the fundamentals, listen to what they need, create. And then the second thing I would say is be creative. Don't go to the same solutions that worked 3, 4, 5 years ago. Dive in and be a true innovator when it comes to solving problems. And if all you do is annuities, partner with somebody who does assets under management, partner with somebody who does life insurance as a solution, partner with a banking partner in town that can help stuff, but be creative with the solution, because if you're doing the same thing over and over and over again and trying to repeat that same thing, then you're going to get the same results. And so if you listen and then you be creative, and the number 3 is just embrace that change is going to happen.
Mm.
When you change nothing, nothing changes. Tony Robbins said that. And so if you embrace change, that it's going to occur, then you open up the possibilities of that spotless future I spoke about in the future, and you can evolve. Because I'm telling you guys, gals, everybody listening to this, AI is changing our industry faster than you can imagine. And if you don't embrace that, we need to listen more and we need to change when the change comes, or listen, be innovative and change, then, we could be, in that hourglass that only has a little bit of sand in it that's running out. And if you're in a business where the sand runs out, that means you're going to find something else in the future that's not as conducive to what your skill set is.
I love those 3. And those are wise wisdom words. Listen more, be creative, strategic partnerships, obviously, and then embrace change, because that is going to happen. Good stuff. As we wrap up, anything we missed for final thoughts as we close out?
2026 is going to be a great year. Like you've got 2 podcasts already into the year. The one last week, I mean, if you're not optimistic about what's happening within the product line development that Nexus is putting together, that, the innovation and index solutions, that's absolutely creative based off of last week's guest. And then just like his comments. And then, I hope you hear the optimism with me too. Like, if whatever you want in your future, you can have it. There's nothing limiting you from that. And we call that, by the way, in our world, a one-of-a-kind life. And so if you want a one-of-a-kind life, you need to develop some processes and systems that are going to help you get there. Because as Jeremy says, people fail. Is that what you say, Jeremy? People fail.
I really know that you have that tattooed on your back somewhere.
You'll never see it.
Systems work, people fail. But yes.
And guys, if you guys knew me and Jeremy enough, I know that like the back of my hand, like he said, but I always joke with him about it because that is his saying, and I want him to say it, not me.
There you go. Well, always appreciate your generosity and your time. It's very valuable. Thank you, Mike. And also thank you to the listener for tuning in to this week's episode of the Advisor Mentorship Podcast. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite listening device so you do not miss out on any future episodes. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Jeremy Hauser AMP, and also connect with us on LinkedIn and Instagram at Jeremy Hauser. And remember, as you share this episode with a friend or a colleague in a world full of betas, be an alpha.